Hello, how are you? Well, we have I find a lot of information about Israel being at war. And of course, you have all these, and I'm sorry if I have to say, they are false teachers coming out and now commenting, on how this is now again prophetic. And how it could lead to the Ezekiel 38 war, which is, of course, the Gog and Magog war. Well, people, if you were looking for a sign that Gog and Magog war is close, this is not the video. Because it is very obvious in the Bible, in Revelation 20, that the Gog and Magog war will come after the millennium. It's obvious. Even if you say, oh no, this Ezekiel 38 war is not the same war, well, guess what? It is. Because I always tell you, description and definitions are everything. Everything. Why? Because you cannot define and describe things with your own understanding and your own definition and your own interpretation. You have to stick with what the Bible says. And believe me, Ezekiel 38 is very clear. So is Revelation 20. What do? They describe Jerusalem as being safe, having no walls and borders. That's how Jerusalem is defined. And then people say, yeah, but there will be a peace treaty and then Jerusalem will be safe. Well, okay, you think that this war that Israel just started will lead to a peace treaty? I doubt it very seriously. Because Israel is not willing to give up any territory. In the opposite, Israel wants to take in more and more territory. And because they do that, of course, the countries retaliate. And especially the countries that are not really for Israel, which are all of those countries in the region. Why? Because Israel has a tendency to steal land. That's why. They make everybody believe that they are the promised people and they deserve the promised land when they are not. They make everybody believe, well, should I say it's not really Israel. That idea comes from someplace else, and somebody just wants to stir things up. This idea that Israel is in prophecy is ridiculous. And I'm talking about Israel, the country today, the country of Israel is in prophecy. No. God kicked them out in 70 AD. He kicked them out, the war lasted, I think, until 120 after. So 120 AD. When finally Masada fell. God kicked them out. He kicked them out for a reason. They had 70 years, and I have talked about that enough now, that these 70 years of the Jews are complete. 70 years they received in order to accept Messiah, and they rejected him. And the 70 years for the Jews, or for the Hebrews, for Israel, not Israel as a state, was over. And after that, the gospel went, or the spreading of the gospel went to the Gentiles. No, Israel is done. Israel is done. Israel, as I don't even know, Israel was done a long time ago. Israel, the kingdom of Israel, went into captivity a long time ago, before even the Babylonian captivity. Why do Christians not know that? Why do Christians not know that? Long before the Judah went into captivity, into Babylonian captivity, Israel went into captivity, never returning to the promised land. When was that? Well, it was 500 years before Christ. That was 2,500 years ago. And they have not returned. They did not return to the promised land like Judah did. Judah had to return in order to complete the prophecy about Messiah. And they had to fulfill the 70 weeks. They got another 70 weeks to bring forth Messiah. And that 70 years were over, and they rejected him. So now they are rejected people. Okay? They're rejected. Yes, they still have a chance to accept Messiah today, but as a nation, they keep rejecting it. They keep rejecting Messiah. Therefore, they don't have the right to be in Israel. They are no longer the apple of God's eye. Only the believers are. And there are some, yes, but the apple of God's eye is always the believer. It wasn't Esau who was the apple of God's eye. It was Jacob or Israel who was the apple of God's eye. And why? Simply because he was following God. Yeah, he had struggles. Jacob had struggles. He wrestled with God. But ultimately, he followed him. Ultimately, he followed him. What does that mean? He followed his plan. He followed God's plan. He didn't come up with his own plan and followed his own plan. Well, he did that sometimes, right? He worked things out and deceived Esau, even though he didn't really have to do it. But eventually, I think he did submit to God. And this is the only way that we become real children of Abraham and Israel. Not because of our birthright. That doesn't make us true Israel of God. Now, when Israel was founded, everybody says, oh, that's a prophetic time. No, that is not in the Bible. I want to know, please show me clearly where that is in the Bible. I know unless it is an interpretation. I don't want to hear any interpretation because that's all it is. It's all it is. I know what they're going to quote. I know what dispensational is quoting. Matthew 24, when this fig tree came back to life. Fig tree never came back to life. Okay? Jesus cursed the fig tree because they didn't bring any fruit. And no, the fig tree is not coming back to life. The fig tree is dead because they didn't bring any fruit. And so what happened to the fig tree? Well, the fig tree can still be plugged in this other fig tree, which is part of Jesus. They can plug into Jesus. They have always been able to do that, but they chose as a nation not to do that. And I don't hear anything about, oh, God blinded them. No, God blinded them in part. The biggest part was because their rejection. It's obvious. God did not blind them or make them stop following. No, they did it on themselves, and because they did it, God blinded them. Okay? So we need to be seeing things correctly here. No, Israel is not in end times prophecy. No, it's not. It's not. Well, it is in trans prophecy not Israel as the state of Israel, but that region is Jerusalem. There's always talk about Jerusalem. And if we're reading Zechariah, for instance, 14, we see what will happen just before Jesus returns. When we read Revelation, we see that there's a war, an Armageddon war, right outside Jerusalem. Has nothing to do with the state of Israel, or the state of Israel even being in God's will. No, it's not. And what's happening right now with this war again? I don't trust Israel at all. If that wasn't, and somebody already talked about that, if that wasn't provoked. Again, why? Well, if you constantly pick on your neighbors, you provoke them. If you constantly portray yourself as better than everybody else, that's not going to give you any peaceful relationship. And of course, then we have these dispensationalists screaming about, oh, there's going to be a peace treaty. I'm hearing that now for years. Oh, there's going to be a peace treaty. No, Israel does not make a peace treaty. Okay? That's not what that is about. It's a covenant that Daniel 9 was talking about. Not a peace treaty. Daniel 9 did not talk about a peace treaty. Daniel talked about a covenant. He talked about the new covenant. And that new covenant was brought by Jesus, by Messiah. And Jesus made a covenant with many of Israel for 1 week. Those few that accepted him. He already done that. It's over. And then the nation of Judah rejected him. And that is why they were kicked out of the land. Again, because they only had the land until Messiah would come. And yeah, they had a chance to accept him, and then it would have made things different. Would have been, it would have ended different. But of course, God knew how it would end already, and he knew that after the 70 years, they wouldn't accept Messiah. And so the fall of Judah came, final fall. Israel, the kingdom, was already gone. And no matter what the Judah does, will not bring back Israel. Israel didn't want to have anything to do with Judah anyways. That's why they left Judah. Because they were pompous. And the other tribes did not want to listen to the kings of Judah. Now, people need to learn historical facts. And they don't. And maybe me talking about it doesn't do one bit of good, because my videos don't go out there on YouTube anyways. Now, BitChute is a different story, but BitChute has a limited amount of people, Christians, that actually watch videos. There's not too many Christians on BitChute. So yeah, I am very thankful for my BitChute subscribers and people that view my BitChute videos. But on YouTube, my videos don't go out there. And that's what I'm actually always talking about. When I'm saying my videos don't go out there, I'm talking about my YouTube videos. Why? Because I'm shadow banned, flagged, whatever it is. I don't know. Okay? I don't know how that stuff works. But mainly it's because I'm telling the truth. Because all the other ones, they are allowed to say any false teachings. That's allowed on YouTube, false teachings. And then they're making a big thing, oh, we want to do, we want to have the truth. No, they don't want to have the truth. Fact checkers, a bunch of nonsense, Yeah, they should really fact check all these false teachings about the Bible. Should have fact checkers for that. But no, those are allowed, because the more people we can confuse and deceive, the better off we are. Of course, it all comes from Satan, because Satan is controlling media. Yeah, that's just the way it is. We know that. And who else does? Well, the Jews do too. But I don't even want to go there. But back to the war that we're having right now. No, this war is not in prophecy. I think more will happen. I think we really will go in a third world war. This is not going to be the Gog and Magog war. No, again, read Ezekiel 38. I don't even have to go there right now. Okay, I've read it so many times. The significant thing about Jerusalem during this Gog and Magog war, or Ezekiel 38 war, is that it sits in safety without walls, okay, and gates and walls. That's the significant. And we can compare that to the Jerusalem in Revelation 20, which is the same. They sit in safety. Why? Because that's the millennium. That's where Jesus lives with his bride in Jerusalem, New Jerusalem. They sit in safety. They don't need walls. And Jerusalem right now is not in safety, because the Jews don't even know what it means to keep peace. Because in their mind is always expansion. That's what they were thinking about from the beginning. Oh, we want the whole land. Even though the rest of the tribes are gone, they want the whole land. For what? For Judah. Judah has no right to claim all of Israel. They don't even have the right to claim Judah for themselves, because God rejected them. He kicked them personally out. Okay? Why? Because they rejected Messiah, and they're still rejecting Messiah as a nation. Once the bride of Christ is gone, the church is gone, the body of Christ is gone, and the wrath of God starts, and we have the two witnesses. They even kill the two witnesses, people. Why? Because they're still rejecting Christ during the wrath of God. Now, why in the world would they be the apple of God's eye? Who is the apple of God's eye? That is the believers. The bride of Christ is the apple of God's eye. It's like, what is so hard to understand? Today's Israel is a secular state or a secular country. That's all it is. They're not put in there by God. They acquired the country there by themselves through whatever they did. Making treaties, I don't know, being killed in the Holocaust. That was definitely one of the reasons. Whatever reason, how they acquired the land. They acquired the land, and it's a secular country, and it should be treated the same way. Of course, Israel is protected by NATO, okay? And so really, basically, they can do and get away with anything they want. Basically, because that's what the U.S. does. They get away with anything. They get away with murder. Nobody's ever stopping Israel and saying, wait a minute, no, you can't expand anymore. This is your country, and that's it. What gives you the right to take parts of Lebanon or Syria or, Palestine or whatever. Why is nobody stepping in and telling him, wait a minute, this is your part and that's it? See, the problem with Israel is that this country belonged to other people. It was in the hands of other people, Palestinians, for 2,000 years, or 1,700 at least, no, longer than that. And then all of a sudden, you can't just take it away from them without them retaliating. Let's put it that way. But again, what's happening today, people are screaming, saying, oh, this is going to lead to the Third World War. If they don't watch, the Ukraine war will lead to the Third World War. And you know what? If Israel thinks they can defeat their enemies around them, well, there are some other people that may not be very happy and will support these enemies around them, like the kings of the East, which is, of course, China and the allies. We know what happens during the Armageddon War. Israel will not be doing very well. It's like, what is up? You don't understand that? Why don't you read Zechariah 14? Israel doesn't do very well. That's part of the Armageddon War. Or read the Armageddon War in Revelation 16. Doesn't say anything about Jerusalem. It just says that there's going to be a bloodbath outside Jerusalem. And you don't think Jerusalem will be affected? The people of Jerusalem? The armies? No, God is not protecting them. They will go into the bloodbath with the rest of the nations. And we see that clearly in Zechariah 14. And I'm just going to mention them right now because you can go there and read them. That's not the Gog and Magog war. The Gog and Magog war will happen after the millennium. Revelation 20. And I'm telling you right now. Okay? Because again, people will say, oh, Gog and Magog. No, it's not Gog and Magog. Because God will not protect them this time. Why? Because they have rejected him. Why would they be protected by God right now? They have rejected him. They're screaming in his face constantly that they're going to follow their own religion. It's like, what? Which part don't you see? You think you can just do whatever you want? And God's going to be happy? Oh, because I'm the apple of God's eye, I can just do anything I want. That is silly. It's very, very silly. I mean, people's mind is really, I think, screwed up. Really screwed up. They're not thinking straight anymore. God will pour out God's wrath on Israel again. And I'm talking about the state of Israel. Again, people. He poured out his wrath on them before the destruction of Jerusalem and during the destruction of Jerusalem. And it lingered on until they finally were all defeated when they had that battle over Masada. I think it was 120 after. So 120 AD. They were defeated. Why? Because they rejected his plan. They rejected Messiah. And that has not changed, and that will not change until they see him coming in the sky, which will be after the wrath of God. Even during the wrath of God, they will scream against God. They will scream. The two witnesses which will be witnessing in Jerusalem, people. and they're still going to go after them and try to destroy them. And eventually they will kill them. It says the beast out of the abyss will kill him. But who is the beast out of the abyss? It's always a political system. It's a political system that will support the nonsense of the Jews. That's what it is. But who will do the footwork? Well, it will be Israel, because it's happening in Israel. And in Israel, only the Israel, or somebody who, supports, is supported by Israel, will kill the two witnesses. They are not supporting the two witnesses and saying, oh, they're our witnesses. No, they will kill them. And they will be very happy, celebrating. And those people that are following Israel, which we see today, okay, oh, Israel and this Gog and Magog war, these are all people that support Israel today. Okay? And I'll tell you, they are wrong. These are wrong teachers. Anybody who supports Israel are false teachers, because that's not biblical. Okay? I'm not against Israel. It's a state. Okay? It's a regular state like Italy, France, Arabia, whatever, Egypt, whatever. It's a regular state. And it needs to be respected and treated as a regular state. It has no special standing over any other countries. None whatsoever. But see, these Zionist Christians, they think, they believe that nonsense. They believe the nonsense. And of course the Germans do too, because they were made feel guilty what they did during the Holocaust. So the Germans, oh my goodness, you have to protect Israel. It's the end of the world if you don't. Yeah, that's because they were conditioned to feel sorry, feel guilty. Now, I am German. I'm still German. And I used to be very guilty, and I'm not anymore, because it was not my problem, was not my doing, because I would have never done that, and I may have even ended up in a concentration camp, because I would have had to speak out against anything bad that was done against the Jews. No country, no people groups deserve to be discriminated against or treated unfairly or badly or whatever. None. And that goes for the Germans too. Because after Second World War, Germans have been really treated pretty badly by their enemies. Well, they're not enemies anymore, but they pretend now to be allies. Pretend is the right word. But yeah, I'm getting off my topic. Yeah, I wanted to make this video because of what's happening lately. Oh, Israel at war. Now, I'll see how it's going to pan out, but I'll tell you right now, it has nothing to do with prophecy whatsoever. Of course, you can say this will lead to the Armageddon war. Okay? You can say that. All this nonsense that Israel is doing, this stirring up of their enemies, will eventually lead to them being attacked by the kings of the East. Read Revelation 16. And it's also in Revelation 9 or 10. You can check it out. The sixth trumpet. That's where it's described. That's where it's going to end up. The Armageddon war. When the kings of the East will come over the Euphrates River and Yeah, all NATO will protect, of course, Israel. And that's why everybody is going to meet together. And whatever is left of Russia, of course, will be on the side of the kings of the East. People don't understand that. Yes, right now, what's happening right now, it definitely will affect the future. But this is not necessarily in prophecy right now. And it will not end up in the Gog and Magog war, which these false teachers absolutely always preach. Oh, Gog and Magog war. And they don't understand, and they don't want to see that Gog and Magog war is after the millennium. It says it in Revelation 20. It's like, whoa, which one? I mean, why are you not reading the Bible? Oh, no, because it's my opinion. See, these false teachers always think, they're always coming across like, we are so important. And then they don't know diddly squat. Coming to an end, people. Watch what's happening. I believe, and this is my belief, this is my opinion, that really the things in Ukraine have to continue, and I believe that situation will spark the Third World War. Now, once Russia is defeated, then the kings of the East will actually continue the Third World War and then attack Israel. That's the way I see it. This is the progression I see. Now, I only know the Armageddon War, but during the Armageddon War, Russia is not mentioned. And because Russia is not mentioned, I believe, and Russia is a huge what do you call empire? It's not an empire. I don't want to call it an empire. It's a huge country, a major country in the world, a major force in the world. And since it's not mentioned, I am assuming that during that time, during this Armageddon War, that Russia will be defeated by NATO. Okay? That's what I believe. Now, I know NATO is the beast out of the sea, and the false prophet. False prophet is the United States. And Europe is the beast out of the sea. And together they are NATO. And we see NATO right there during the Armageddon War. They will be defeated during that time. Now, I'd have to go into deeper study, which I have done. You can actually look at my videos about the beast out of the sea and the beast out of the earth, which is the false prophet. And they will be destroyed during that Armageddon War. Our system that we have today will be destroyed there. Okay? And make no mistake, if any of your sons and daughters will get to go to that war, they will be destroyed. The blood will be flowing. I don't know how long, how many kilometers wide. You can read it in Revelation. I believe it is in Revelation 14 at the end. When Jesus swings his sickle, that's the last battle called Armageddon battle. But I have done videos about that, and I will continue to make videos about these events. We're living in end times, and of course the rapture has to happen first, because the rapture is really at the opening of the day of the Lord and the opening of the wrath of God. And that will be an interesting time. The true believers will not be here. during the wrath of God. And again, please do not make the mistake. Tribulation time is now. Tribulation time has been here for the past 2,000 years. Okay? All right, make no mistake. For the past 1,700 years at least. No, 18. No, from the time of Christ's death. Okay? We had tribulation time. And the time is up. Then the time is up. And the rapture will happen. Again, there's rapture deniers, whatever. It is an event that will happen right at the beginning of the day of the Lord. You can do what you want. Anyways, I'm coming to an end. Don't let yourself be deceived. Don't let yourself be deceived. And let the Holy Spirit guide you.